Ponyfans.com here with offensive tackle JT Brooks. JT, the other tackle on the offensive line, Kelvin Beachum, gets a lot of attention, a lot of accolades. He was named preseason all-conference. Is there a sense of competition among the linemen? Does that serve as a motivating factor to you and the rest of the guys on the line to raise your level of play as well?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely say, especially between me and Beachum, there's a lot of competition. We get compared a lot kind of by the coaching staff, and I mean, I don't know, it's kind of like almost like a sibling rivalry type thing that, I mean, we strive to be, the best each of us can be, but I don't know, it's kind of more a preseason thing, once the season gets rolling, you get more focused on, just what you're shooting for personally, and you're not so much worried about anyone else on the offensive line. But yeah, there's definitely, we push each other very much so.
Last year, your offensive line coach, Adrian Clem, talked about your improvement from the start of the season to the end of the year. Toward the end of the year, you were getting as much attention and accolades as anyone. Other than simply good health, you started the season with a knee injury, but other than good health, what was the biggest change in your game from, let's say, the end of camp in August until the Hawaii Bowl in December?
I would say really just each game gaining experience every week, because the rest of the offensive line, aside from Kelly starting a couple games, had an entire season under their belt. And this was, I didn't start my first game until Washington State, the third game of the season last year. And, you play, and not just the experience itself, but the quality of the experience, playing Jerry Hughes and, a couple other good defensive ends throughout the year. Just, I don't know, I feel like that's the main thing that helped me grow throughout the year.
At this time of year, lots of guys are talking about their off seasons. Some of them gain weight and get stronger. Some of them lose weight, get leaner, or simply getting healthier and getting over injuries. But the argument can be made that nobody has changed his physique from a year ago more than you have. Was that something the coaches asked you to do, or you took upon yourself, or is that partly just maturing into your frame and growing into your body?
The coaches didn't really push me to do it so much. I knew that would help. With my knee injury, I knew being leaner would help reduce injury. And I think a big part of it, though, is just kind of maturing and losing some of my, I won't say baby fat, but, just leaning out quite a bit. But, no, I wasn't. The coaches didn't really try to force me to do it or anything. I just kind of took it upon myself and decided that would help me be a better player, so I needed to do it.
And what were some of the changes you made from your offseason a year ago in terms of what you ate and also simply the kind of workouts that you were doing to get ready for this year?
I'd say the biggest, I've always been a hard worker in the weight room. That didn't change a whole lot. I'd say I did focus a little more on core work and stuff for my abs and stuff, but I'd say the main thing was diet, really, just being disciplined with it. And it helped out because my roommate was, trying to do the same thing, so we were able to help each other out with that, because it can be hard when you're trying to do it on your own sometimes. But just really much, much lower fat diet was what did it, I'd say.
Going into the Hawaii Bowl last year, you were going to line up against Dante Mock, who was the defensive end at Nevada, who was the Western Athletic Conference Defensive Player of the Year. And there was some talk about how could you contain him. You not only contained him, you took him out of the game completely. Did you look at that one-on-one matchup as a real focus for the offense in that game? Did you take that as a personal challenge in addition to the team challenge?
Yeah, I definitely did. I knew, he's supposed to be the best defensive player in that conference, and I was extremely focused on making sure that I didn't let him disrupt our game plan, and I did my part in making sure we won. And yeah, I'd say there was definitely some extra focus that week. And he's not at the same level Jerry Hughes was, but he was a speed rusher like that, and Hughes gave me a lot of trouble, so I really put a lot of extra effort getting ready for that game, being ready for that type of defensive end.
Were you surprised how effective you were against a guy with that kind of quickness, though?
I wouldn't say I was surprised. I knew by the end of the season I was really having problems with my knee, but I knew if I could get that to hold up that I would be able to do my job, and luckily it held up throughout the game and felt pretty good. So I wasn't surprised. I was proud.
Going into this year, you've got a starting offensive line that's made up of 5 juniors. You and Beach at tackle, Bryce Tennyson and Kelly Turner at guard, and then Blake McJunkin at the center. with all the talk that coaches do about how an offensive line needs to be comfortable with each other and familiar with each other, how much is that going to help simply the fact that you guys have all been here working together for 3 years now?
I mean, it makes a world of difference when you get to work with the same guys over and over again, day after day in practice. And not only just practice, we've had 2 seasons together now. And I don't know, it's almost like sometimes things just go unsaid. The other person playing next to you so well, you don't even have to make calls or anything. I don't know, it's pretty crazy the chemistry we have up front, really.
The center is often called the quarterback of the offensive line. How does this line operate differently or approach a defense differently with Blake in the middle after the graduation of Mitch Enright?
It wasn't much of a drop-off at all. I don't think. Blake's a really physical player, and he's not perfect with his calls yet, but he's got him down pretty well. And you can tell he gets more reps he gets, the even better he gets, and we're really comfortable with him inside because I feel like he brings a little bit more nastiness and physicalness to the offensive line.
Okay, and you also talked about how you have to be familiar and comfortable with the guy next to you. And Kelly started a couple of games last year, but now he is the guy at right guard. Give us a thumbnail sketch of what kind of player he is and how effective he'll be in his first year as a starter.
I think he'll do really well. You talk about strength-wise, he's probably the strongest player on the team. He's a great run blocker, and he's got his stuff down pretty good, all his calls and everything. He knows what to do, and physically he has the tools to do it better than anyone you could put there probably.
Coach Jones said in his first year that basically he installed the whole offense that first year that he and his staff got here, but there were more variations to come. How much more complex or how many more variations will there be in the offense this year compared to what we've seen the last couple of years?
I think, we throw in a couple new things each season, but for the most part, we don't change a whole lot up. Our thing is just we don't do a ton of stuff. It's just doing what we do and doing it at the highest level and doing it better than the opponent. We're not really into tons of variety. What we're going to do, we're going to do it very well.
Okay, you're now just over a week away from finally kicking off the season out in Lubbock. And Texas Tech gets a lot of attention for the new coaching staff, going to change up their offense a little. But how much scouting have you done on their defense, and how much can you study? What do you expect from their defense in terms of the formations they'll run and the number of stunts and twists and that kind of thing that they'll throw at you and the rest of the line?
They're pretty heavy with stunting and stuff. We've been able to get a pretty good idea from looking at some Alabama film, and you can't know exactly. You can know who the coaches are and everything, but you never know if it's going to be the exact same. But we feel like we've got a pretty good idea and can still watch their personnel from last year. And I feel like we're going to be really well prepared for it.
You and your teammates are getting tired of beating on each other? You're ready to see a different colored jersey finally?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm getting tired of walking out, and me and Taylor kind of talk about it, lining up against each other every day for about 3 weeks now. We're definitely ready to get, an enemy across from you instead of a friend.
Going out to Lubbock, you're going into enemy territory, but you're going to be in front of a huge crowd that's pretty famous for being really loud too. What's that going to do, and what kind of adjustments do you have to make for the communication within you and the rest of the offensive line when you got a crowd that's that loud?
You just have to be loud with your calls, and of course sometimes you have to rely on the silent count. And that's something, we've worked on a little, and I'm sure we'll work on plenty next week. And that's just kind of about getting down with the center's rhythm and just, doing reps of it and really getting used to it. But, it probably affects the offensive tackles the most because for guards, you're right there next to the center. You can see the ball snapped and everything. And it's a little tougher for tackles, but, I'm sure we'll practice it plenty next week and we'll be ready for that.